morning, everyone. Please be seated. On behalf of ACFI, I, Purnima Bhardwaj, extend a very warm welcome to all the dignitaries at today's event, Air Cargo Digitization to Digitalization. It is our honor to have you all here. We will begin with the lamp lighting ceremony. For that, I would like to invite Dr. John Joseph, Mr. Tehseen Ahmed, Ms. Vandana Agarwal, Sri Anand Swaroop, Mr. Keshav Chandra, Mr. Tushar Jani, and other ACFI office bearers.
वक्रतुण्ड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। वक्रतुण्ड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। वक्रतुण्ड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। वक्रतुण्ड महाकाय
We'll now play a quick video on the event. Thank you, Pankaj, for playing the video. We do hope you enjoyed watching it. May I now request Mr. Yashpal Sharma to come and talk about ACFI.
Thank you, Purnima. Very good morning to all of you. The Air Cargo Forum India, ACFI, envisage to build world-class, environmental-friendly air logistics industry by innovation, allied action, with credibility, and providing business facilitation to boost the Indian economy. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the vision of ACFI. ACFI, which was formed in 2012, was conceptualized by all of us, the trade, largely to address a need that we got actually from the government of India. The industry has various individual stakeholders bodies, associations, and forums. It was recognized that we need a forum which can address all issues, larger policy issues, leaving the commercials aside, leaving individual interests aside. We set up a body which can take care of all stakeholders, which can take care of air cargo industry as a whole, to try and bring in, work with the government, work with the private stakeholders, work with all the regulators, to ensure we are able to increase the pie of the industry, not to see which stakeholder gets a bigger pie. The pie becomes bigger, we all get a bigger share out of it. This is how the conceptualization of ACFI happened. It's been a delight, it's been a pleasure working with some lovely set of people from the association, from the industry, and from the government of India, all these last 8 years. Some extremely strong and good initiatives have been taken up. A lot of points have been actioned, and even got a very inclusive approach. ACFI has always, right from inception, had an extremely inclusive approach. We want each and every stakeholder from the industry to be a part of us. Even if it's a trucker sitting on the side who adds the minutest of value to the air cargo chain. I don't literally mean that the trucker adds that, but anyone who adds even the minutest value to the air cargo chain, we want them to be part of ACFI. We want them to work with us as a member, as an associate member, or even without. But the idea is to work on the vision and keep growing. We have 5 pillars. 5 pillars is the functioning of ACFI. We have a policy and advocacy pillar, which ensures that there is regular interaction with the government and other regulators. We have a knowledge and research pillar, which also has partnered with KPMG, who's our knowledge partner, to ensure that there is a lot of knowledge shared between the stakeholders, to collate all information possibly lying somewhere in the chain and is not available. We released a white paper book last year at an event like this, which was very well appreciated and got many of facts documented which were so far probably fragmented in the industry. We also have a process simplification pillar which takes care of all small and big issues which need simplification. We have a skill development pillar which has been very active and conducting various programs across India. Almost 3,000 industry personnel have been skilled through our programs. We have a basic cargo awareness program and an advanced cargo awareness program. More programs are being made by the skill development team, and you would see more and more programs like these being rolled out, because skilling definitely is extremely essential. We are here discussing digitalization. There's a big threat around that digitalization, not just in our industry, but other industries around the world, will take away jobs. Well, it would not take away jobs if people get upskilled. So it's our responsibility as an industry, as forums like ACFI, to ensure we are able to skill and upskill people. Then we also have an event management committee, a pillar, which takes care of and makes sure that we organize events like these, where we can bring the industry together. We used to have many, many more events a decade ago, but today there are fewer events, largely due to economic reasons. But it's important that we all get together in forums like these, participate, listen to various renowned speakers, and also engage with them through a question and answer, through other mediums when we get an offline chance to network with them. Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you all, and I would request our dynamic president, Mr. Tushar Jani, to take it forward from here. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Madam and Sir. The digitization and digitalization shivered me. I ran through the temperature and couldn't walk at the airport. That's what the digitalization does. And Ms. Agarwal, Dr. Joseph, Mrs. Swaroop, Ms. Chandra, Mr. Khan, and Mr. Venkat, and Yash. Those Janamdata, two people who initiated and made changes in digitization are here. One is Mr. T.A. Khan. I worked with him, sir, in 1986 on UNEDF Act. That's as early as 86. And of course, second one is Dr. Joseph. And followed by Ms. Agarwal. And I was just joking, sir, with Madam. I said, you know, we have Mr. Sivasalam who's taking the light. So it reminds me of Sholay movie. There's a Thakur and there is Jai and Viru. I hope you don't mind, sir, by being saying, sir. But that's the kind of change which is coming. The topic, digitization to digitalization, itself is open up the whole debate. As I said, Mr. Khan was on UNEDF Act, so there was this protocols which UN came out with for inter-exchange of data. Sir, I want to tell you in 86, one of my company had a trace and track when internet was not even born. So we had the exchange, 7 exchange, reach to VSNL, then underground submarine cable go to Hong Kong. And those 7 exchange, we used to have the operators on our good relationships, so our switch doesn't go down. And there were only 3 companies in India who were having this. One was Citibank, American President Line, and Blue Dart. It was only 3. And I must say that Blue Dart growth came because of digitalization. I would say digitization. All our future growth came through that. Having seen that, and having experience, I think that the custom department under your leadership, sir, at JNPT, had created revolution. And it created some good part, some bad part. My family has been custom house broker since 1886, 130 years history. In 1976, when I joined the business, for in second-hand machinery, my clearance charge was 2% of the value of the goods, which is down to a few thousand per container. So that's what digitization brought in, which is good part. The volume has gone up, the growth has gone up. The direct delivery concept was very unique, I think so, very complex. But under your leadership, it was handled well. And so we have seen some results on that. The custom one single entity on ease of doing business has also created some challenge. 15 to 20% of CHS is out of the business now because they're not able to keep up. The yield has gone down. The technical level is needed high. So I think so we need to also look at the social aspect of digitization, digitalization. India is a country for, a lot of people. And just to give an example, I have a lady working in my company since 40 years, and she can't go up in the knowledge. I can't make her sit at home. So I think we need to keep that in mind when we do this, what is digitization and what is digitalization? I think so, Michael from the BCS would set that up. I'm not expert to do that. But I understand one thing, sir. India has shown the way in the world on two counts. One is the fin services. Rupee, Pay, Google Pay. We've beaten every record of the world. And that's power, what India has in digitization or digitalization. The promo showed the three pillar, IoT, artificial intelligence, and robotics. I believe on artificial intelligence, we have not done much work, but it will come. If Singapore Airport, Changi now is going to put the 5th terminal, the aeroplane comes in, the unmanned aerobridge goes with a laser, touches, passenger comes out, with their face recognition, his immigration is done, and he goes to the belt, the driverless vehicle goes to the aeroplane, with the robot take the luggage out, put it onto the belt. The only person he would see, sir, is the custom officer at the end because somebody has to protect the border. And that only one officer. Now that's the change. So typically, this flight would have roughly about 45 to 50 people employment. We need to keep this in mind. How do we re-employ these people? How do we build that skill? Artificial intelligence, data science is going to be the way, and I'm sure India is going to lead the way on data science. In terms of machine learning and in terms of the use of data science, India will show to the world what we can do. And I'm quite confident, an initiative taken by Dr. Joseph and Customs Department, and now followed by Logistic Department of Ministry of Commerce. It will set the path. The only question, the submission I have, sir, we're talking about high logistic cost all the time. I think some point of time you have to engage a study which logistic cost more. Is it us or somewhere else? The truck transportations are lowest in the world in India. On 3 to 4 rupees a kilo, you put into cents, I think the biggest cost is the inventory management. And the industry is yet to understand the supply chain. They are yet to understand the impact of the GST. GST has done wonders, sir. Just to let you know, Delhi to Chennai, the time has gone down by 18 hours and has brought down 33% the lorry freight. Right? So those impact we have to see. I think the biggest impact is inventory management. We've seen what happens to automobile. I mean, they have huge cars and cars and cars. But I think that the market segmentation is different now. The consumer behavior is different. And I think that study has to be done. And give an example, Toyota Kirloskar, sir, has a zero inventory. The plant is in Mysore. And that equipment, the components come from north. There are 14 vehicles going round and round. So inventory is only on the vehicle. They have nowhere else. It's all in the vehicle. So some smart people are able to do. And I think that that's more partnership we need to do. And the government needs to look at it in terms of whether it's e-waybill or what is coming in a way. And, we should look at it, make supply chain more easy. I think we as ACFI are very committed to make air cargo more smooth, efficient. My colleague, Cyrus, always says he talks about tons of paper. And he'll continue to do that. That's his main thing. Sir, just to give you a simple, Dr. Joseph, there's this regulation which says you need to keep original in your record. Now, what is original is not defined. If you are digitalized or digitized, anytime you take copy becomes original in terms of the global understanding. But the regulation says keep original for 5 years, or as and when it demanded. So I think we have to look at this aspect also. We have submitted some 9 requirement of the customs, sir. So the ACFI was in forefront. we took with Dr. Adya and our secretary, Mr. Chobe, and put those 9 points, and there's still some points are not resolved. So I hope that should be resolved. I think so the other thing, sir, I would urge the department and the ministry in terms of the processes. The processes are different for different scale. What is good for Germany may not be good for India. What is good for India may not be good for Singapore. India is unique. Our scale is much more low. So whatever procedure we do, we've got to keep in mind that our scale currently is low compared to the global. So we put our procedure simple at a, at a cost optimization to the user, and we should keep that in mind. And I would urgently request you to use user consultation in a great manner to do that. What's digitization and what's digitalization? I believe, you will tell us more. What about digitization? For me, it's simple. What replaced paper is digitization, and what replaced digitization is digital. So, you replace paper with digitization, and replace digitization with digitalization is machine learning, data science. I would urge all industry players, start your money investing in data science and artificial intelligence. It's not far off. My companies are investing 30% of our profit into digitization program. Please, you should not be behind. You've seen how integrators, FedEx or UPS or DHL has shown to the world what happens when you have a very high level of IT. And I think so artificial intelligence is going to be the way forward. You will be able to decide market. You will be able to predict market. You will be able to tell your customer which product they should bring it into the market. You will be able to now partner. You're not a logistics service provider. You'll be able to plan their budget, their marketing plan, their strategy, and you will be able to make yourself very important in our customer's life. I thank you, sir, for all of you to come here on our invitation. ACFI does this unique thing every year, something new. And we thought, we're debating, and when we put digitization to digitalization, there's a lot of debate. And sab dukh ki ek dawa hai, Google Ma. So we went to Google Mother, asked Google Mother, and she told us something. And I think that's how digitization to digitalization. But I once again urge all of you, spend your money on data science. If you have a son, daughter, they're studying, don't teach them MBA, make them learn data science. That's future. And that's where you need to invest money. We all have to be data science company. The cargo handling should be incidental. Data should be our main business. Keep that in mind, with that in future. Thank you very much, and welcome to you, all of them.
Thank you, sir, for the welcome address. May I now request Mr. Vineet Varghia, partner, Boston Consulting Group, to set the context of today's event.
Good morning, everyone. I think, Mr. Jani, you've set the context very well. In fact, Mr. Jani, I think you've set the context very well. There were two very interesting things that Mr. Jani said, and coincidentally, I will refer to that in my presentation as well. So, I'll bring it up. In our world today, I think the world in the last 15 to 20 years has transformed dramatically. I think the kind of terminology that has seeped into our ecosystem, and the fact that now we measure, there was a time when social sciences would measure in terms like baby boomers and, and the X generation, etc., to the point where we now have what we call digital natives, It's a term that has seeped into even social sciences where, people born post a certain point in time are now called digital natives, because that has been the impact of digital on our society and how it is transforming each and every portion of, the way we work, the way we live, and what we do, overall. Interestingly, and Mr. Jani, to your point, 20 years ago, there were 6 or 7 people in the world of technology who were really transforming it. And he gave the example of how there were just 3 people or 3 key stakeholders who were trying to do something new, and that's true. 20 years ago, there were just a few set of people and technology was fairly streamlined. If you pick up the landscape today, we are talking of more than, I mean, it's even impossible to count. And, the representation on the right-hand side is just a very simple way to say that from 6 big tech companies, we have now come to a place where there are more than 1 million registered units across India and the world who are doing some aspect of technology and are working on some part of it in a very, very close way. And I think that's the big challenge that we have today, that when we think of technology and what we can do with digital, I think sometimes the answer becomes very murky. And how do you exactly crack it, and what is the imperative that is there that is happening? My intent today is to give everyone here in the audience a glimpse of the extent at which digitization and digital initiatives is transforming every industry. I'm sure you're all aware that, all of you have used an Uber service, all of you, when you walk into a Starbucks, and sometimes the barista on the other side is able to say that, would you like a particular coffee, or if you go to, any of the travel services, they're able to give you suggestions basis your past history. Digital technology today has pervaded each and every industry, and by a margin. I think what is even more interesting is that all new companies are now organizing their business models to ensure that they can take on this digital revolution as part of their business model and come up with new revenue streams, new ways to service their customers, purely driven by digital. What is very interesting is that the maturity, however, of where you are on the digital spectrum varies across a wide thing. While media, transportation, Uber, Spotify's of the world, they are at a very, very advanced stage of using digital. In fact, the way the organization is also structured, it will look more like a digital company, a tech company, rather than, a music company or a media company. Because I work a lot in the space, what is also interesting today is that, financial services companies are looking more and more like technology companies rather than banks of the old. So there is a maturity index. I think different companies across the world are at different points in the spectrum. Even here, I think within the community, we understand we have just started out in the transportation space. A lot of digital driven models are coming out, and how they are on the spectrum across various things. However, the key point that I want to highlight it to all again and again, that we are still touching only the tip of the iceberg. In our estimate, and because we work across multiple industries and help, I've personally helped a lot of my clients, on the digital aspect, 90% of the data that organizations still collect is not tapped into. We have made a start. We are trying to use the data that is easily available to us right now, but even a rough estimate shows that 90% of the data that we are collecting, that organizations are collecting, is not being utilized. So what is the next big wave? And my intent today is to show you here that, and you're aware of most of the terms, but I wanted to show today the extent at which digitization and digital related business models is impacting each of the industries. You've heard of blockchain, artificial intelligence, IoT, all of that. But what is very, very interesting, and I picked up 4 or 5 facts to just show the stark contrast. All of you might have used Amazon Echo. Some of you might actually have at your homes. What is very interesting today, the industry is measuring
skills that Echo has. You know, when the industry is measuring the advancement that is happening, they are now saying how many skills does an Echo have, and now Amazon is claiming that Echo has 10,000 plus skills. You know, artificial intelligence and use of that with a hardware has become so imbibed that now we have started measuring some of the products that are out there by the number of skills that they possess and can drive through it. Blockchain. Blockchain is used, and you know, the example of De Beers here. Diamond industry was something that was very, I would say, a very small industry, a very close industry, but interestingly, how they deployed blockchain to ensure the purity of diamonds is something that gives you an example how some of the more conventional industries today are using phases of technology for particular use cases. Augmented reality. I think more and more organizations are using augmented reality today for a lot of their operations that they are doing. So while you sit you know, in a metro, you can control factories, you can control operations in a setup that might be millions of miles away. John Deere, I think this is a very interesting example. Agriculture today has become even more scientific than it was done. In fact, agriculture is one of the oldest, say, areas where humankind actually did massive progress in the last 2,000 years of our existence. But even today, the amount of technology and the way you know, John Deere and some of the other players in this space have used to deploy specific agriculture in telling the farmer exactly when to lay down a seed, the exact precise amount of water that needs to go after calculating the humidity in the air to ensure that, you know, growth is optimal and you don't have any pests and you reduce the use. So the point that I'm trying to make is that all industries are pushing very aggressively when it comes to use of digital use cases in whatever business model. And interestingly, all industries are now trying to figure out as part of their growth strategy what new business stream revenue through digital. In terms of numbers, and you know, when the team told me that, you know, I wanted to, you know, I should set the context, I thought numbers, you know, at times speak the story. Different organizations, and I've taken, you know, some 9 odd examples here to give you a sense how different industries, you know, whether it's logistics, whether it is, you know, financial services, each industry, the amount of value that they have through digital or a digital model is humongous. And the numbers are pretty staggering. It has resulted in something that last alone, you know, our estimate is around close to $1.5 trillion were invested purely in digital. 40% of the initiatives are now using some form of artificial intelligence. But the last number is critical. Still, 3/4 of the people in the market believe that getting a digital thing up and making it run successfully remains a challenge. And this is a key, you know, I would say fulcrum around which the industry today struggles. That everyone agrees that digital is the way to go. It is the new way in which new revenue streams will unlock and cost will reduce. But there is a clear distinction between organizations that are leading and organizations that are lagging behind today in this space. And if you ask the champions, they will say through a very I would say holistic approach of defining the exact use case and then coming up with a model that is delivered to ensure that the use case is successful is what has actually paid off for them. I will close this piece by one very simple adage. Speed is the new mantra where businesses are transforming at the speed of light, and digital actually gives each and every organization today in the world a tool in which they can transform, they can move fast, and they can ensure that they're able to service their customers better and also get new business models. What we need to think about as practitioners of this industry, of the infra industry, the cargo industry, is that We have made some progress, but a long way is still to go. And as we think of the use cases of where we unlock value along the value chain, we need to support our organizations and our processes so that we can truly, unlock value of digital and ensure that we are on the path to progress and we can take the game to the next level. I'll pause here. I think the agenda that we have lined up today is very, very good in the direction that it asks us and forces us to think and introspect how can we continue to push forward in the digital way and ensure that, as an industry, we are at the cutting edge of both technology as well as development. Thank you very much.
For the presentation, sir. It was very informative. I would now like to invite Mr. Keshav Chandra, Joint Secretary, Logistics, Ministry of Commerce and Industry, to address the audience.
Esteemed colleagues at the dais and friends, it's kind of a surprise that I have to speak on this topic. Well, me and Mr. Swaroop, we both are in logistics division of commerce. And I would like to apprise you that what is happening in logistics division. And before elaborating the initiatives which are being taken there in the division, I would like to dwell upon some of the aspects of digitalization which is happening. It's a tongue twister. Happening in the entire world, at least in logistics sector. A year back, I was reading an article on exactly on the same subject, and I can recall that this is the aspect in logistics sector which has been overlooked throughout the world. Why I'm saying this? That the most fundamental of the articles and instrument of the logistics sector, the bill of lading itself has not been digitalized across the world, despite having such a volume being transacted on a day-to-day basis. Not that some effort has not taken place earlier. There were some companies in Korea, Boleros and others, they made some efforts. In fact, there was a resolution in UN also to digitalize the bill of lading, and only 20 countries were supposed to vote in favor of this resolution, but unfortunately only 5 turned up, and so it could not happen. But day is not too far when this particular fundamental aspect of logistics sectors, especially the international trade, would draw everybody's attention, and the basic digitalization from where the entire world will get connected together will happen. Actually, many great initiatives have already been started. IBM, Merckx have joined hands together. They've started approaching different countries, different customs, to have linkages with them. And in some way, the entire process will obviously get speeded up, and there would be at least some experiments which will take place. In fact, I was reading again that the blockchain have been adopted by certain custom unions and customs. EU has adopted at least some port, and similarly in one port in America has already adopted, and there was some experiment which took place in which the custom clearance through blockchain took place. And so we envisage that day is not too far when this experiment would be spread across throughout the world. At least the leading economies will adopt it, and very soon we'll have the entire ecosystem which would be totally different from what it is today. And taking a cue from this particular piece of information, what is the need of the hour, at least in India, is that we cannot go incremental. We have to leapfrog from where we are. And this is how we started in logistics division, that what is the state as on today and where we need to go. As you know, that this, because of certain constraints in different sector, be it road transport, be it air cargo, be it shipping, the warehousing sector, all these sectors are located in a very fragmented manner. The data transmission from one sector to another sector, if not totally absent, is quite dismal as on today. So the initial effort was that how can we bring all the players together and bring them at one platform. Not only it will provide us a great opportunity to capture all the data on a grand scale, and that we have enabler, as on today we have enabler in different forms like GSTN, the air cargo bill, and other instruments already available, and make use of these instruments and then bring all the players together, capture data, process data, and help the different players to augment their business and also reduce logistics cost. So, with that objective in mind, we started National Logistics Portal. There is the concept which started that right from the factory gate to the place of export, how can we integrate all the players together? Well, the world has done it in different manner. There are 4 or 5 countries which have already done it, but they have done it in a different manner. We started initially with a different concept altogether, but now the government has decided that we'll take one hub in the first go, and then we'll connect all the other stakeholders together. So suppose we have PCS, Port Community System, operating, and so the first attempt would be to bring all the stakeholders on board and then connect all these stakeholders which are left behind or which form the part of the logistics chain as such. It is a big endeavor. We have already started. In fact, our leader rightly said, Mr. Thakur, by Mr. Jani, our Special Secretary Logistics, he is quite convinced that if we start from one hub and we connect other hubs together, we'll have a seamless logistics system operating in the country. And this is how we have started. Here, it will take some time because all these hubs will have to mature in a certain manner. All the stakeholders have to agree to come to a certain platform. It is a pretty arduous way, a road ahead, that you have to convince everybody that this is the way in which finally the Indian logistics have to develop and grow in a certain manner. And once everybody is convinced, then we'll have a pathway which does not have any hurdle, and it's quite smooth for all the players to operate and transact their business. At this juncture, I have this much of information. We are at present operating with the PCS, and to bring all the stakeholders there, we are keenly observing that how other sectors are performing. And once we have all the sectors, especially the air cargo system, that this matures, this develops, then we'll try and facilitate the integration between these two. At the same time, there is also effort that all the transaction cost which is happening because of the opacity in the system of choosing a certain mode of transport can be eliminated. And that can also take place probably in third stage, so that the difference which is taking place, the huge differential in different system of procuring a particular mode of transport would be removed, and then this also form a part of logistics chain which will reduce the cost even down. I really thank all the organizers for wonderful conference today, and I'm quite sure we and Mr. Surup will benefit from all the information which we gather from this. And this will also help us in building the national logistics portal that we are trying to construct. Thank you very much.
May I now invite Mr. Tehseen Ahmed Khan, Vice Chair, United Nations Center for Trade Facilitation and Electronic Business.
Good morning. It's my pleasure to be here with Air Fraternity. And primarily the reason that Mr. Tushar Jani has said in the introduction that we had an association right from 1986 onwards, that I am associated with the air cargo community. Not only air cargo community, but all the community which Joint Secretary Logistics has mentioned about port community system or customs single window system and container handling system that I had the pleasure of working with them since that time. I will concentrate here on air cargo system, and I do believe that air cargo in different airports have reached a very great level of maturity, primarily because of two reasons: that this is very vibrant system, and they derive input from across the globe that they try to match with everyone in terms of using and adopting new technologies to see that we leverage on that. Having worked here for quite some time in developing and facilitating the systems, I do believe that there are issues which perhaps not only that you would like to see in an international trade supply chain which doesn't really start and end within the boundary of this country. So having developed the systems within the country, I firmly believe that if we are talking about international trade, that the cross-border understanding and recognition of the documents which are transacted should be a facilitation. And two of my friends, one from Boston Consulting and second from the Ministry of Commerce, the Joint Secretary has underlined the need that there is a need for recognizing these transactions and documents across the boundary. Not only that within the country, that outside the country also we need to recognize this. I have just now heard that there are issues about bill of lading not getting transacted, and blockchain in the EU initiative. Other initiatives, there are not only that these are technology barriers and issues, but there are legal barriers and issues that this is not happening. And how this legal barriers and technology considerations to be ensured that mutually that we are able to transact these documents cross-border in electronic mode is a challenge. It's not a challenge that technology doesn't give us facility to do it, but it's a challenge that the legal framework between multiple jurisdictions do not talk to each other, and that's how perhaps many of such systems are not taking shape. So I will not really go into the bits and pieces of my association with the cargo industry from '86 onwards. I do believe that we have done fairly well, and I also do believe that individual airports are very well managed, and digitalization in the airports are at fairly good phases. Not only that you transact electronic document, but also you do trace and track. But I am very excited to the fact that my old friend and colleague Vandana Garwal is looking into the initiative of having an air community system on the lines of port community system, which JS Logistics has mentioned. And it's necessary that we do have a air community system which connects all the airports. That I don't have to hop to all different airports. If I have to transact with 3 airports, I have to go to 3 systems and conform to 3 systems. So I would be very keen to see that this initiative of yours matures and we are able to do little more business in a manner that I only remember one address of air community system rather than to a number of airports in the country, and I need to remember this address, not only the address, but to comply to the dictate of the requirements of interoperability, which perhaps is a big challenge, which Joint Secretary has also mentioned about the interoperability issues among the different stakeholders. So these are the issues: interoperability in terms of technology, and interoperability in terms of the legal framework. Within the country, when IT Act was enacted in 2000, it was not conforming to interoperability, and that's why the reason that in 2008 it was amended, and subsequent many amendments has taken place just to ensure that not only that we align our legal framework to the technology requirement, but also to the fact that we have to be in sync with our trading partners cross-border across the globe to ensure that our legal framework matches with them, so that we are able to recognize an electronic document originating from some other jurisdiction to our jurisdiction. These are the challenges, big challenges. And that's how, when I worked here for quite some time, I decided that let me address it at a higher level to ensure that these interoperability issues and these issues of ensuring that the legal framework across the globe reaches some understanding. And that is the stage that I am trying to quickly give you an input on an UN initiative on cross-border paperless trade in Asia Pacific. That is a platform which supports the digitalization of international trade processes. Not only that you transact within your country, but you transact cross-border, and there is a recognition. Recognition, when I say, I mean to say that mutual recognition of document originating from other jurisdiction to your jurisdictions. Maybe that the issues of accepting blockchain transactions originating from some other jurisdiction, or IoT transactions originating from other jurisdictions. These are the issues which perhaps we will be able to address. My friend Mr. Tushar Jani has mentioned about IoT, blockchain, artificial intelligence. All of this, if you see in a broader framework outside this country, that you want to transact this across the globe, then there is a need for not only to harmonize the technical framework, but also the legal framework. And these are the challenges which are really before us. In order to address all those challenges, perhaps there is a way out. This is a initiative at the UNSCAP level to address this. And I think that I will quickly go into giving you the background of this initiative. India is in the process of taking this initiative forward, and I think this this initiative has been endorsed by 7 countries in the Asia Pacific and would be of interest. So I would like to skip this, but I will go exactly on to the agreement part. So this is an agreement on facilitation of cross-border paperless trade in Asia Pacific. And what is interesting for you to know, perhaps I will go, these are all the clauses of the agreement which is signed by till now 7 countries, and India is actively considering this be part of this. This framework is on facilitating cross-border, and it will address the issues which are just now raised by 2 of the speakers here in terms of how we recognize a document originating from other jurisdiction. There are issues that within the country, you have heard that we are not uniform in terms of accepting standards. But if you have to really be competitive in international market, you have to adopt standards, not only for ensuring that the data compatibility or data conforming to standards. As the chairman of the customs here is here, the initiatives of having the data model of WCO to be a model to be adopted uniformly in the country and across the Asia Pacific is something which is to be really considered. This particular framework operates on functional equivalence, non-discrimination of use of electronic communication, meaning thereby that if you receive an electronic communication, it should be treated at par with paper-based communication. So that's what is the principle on which the Information Technology Act of our country operates. Technology neutrality in terms of that you will respect all the technologies. That's how we have heard the blockchain, IoT, and other initiatives. Promotion of interoperability, that we ensure not only within the country that we are interoperable among port community system, air community system, or the custom single window, or the other single windows that need to be respected. And of course, cooperation between the public and private sectors, and improving transboundary trust environment, which says that how we respect a document originating from other jurisdiction. So these are the general principles on this framework agreement operates. And the most important thing which perhaps we need to understand is cross-border mutual recognition of trade-related data and document in electronic form. So that is the crux of this framework agreement, which we perhaps will have to address as part of this initiative. And that addresses the 2 concerns raised by 2 of our panelists here. So there is an institutional arrangement created that under UN SCAP, this framework agreement will operate. They will provide the secretariat, and there would be a paperless state council which will be supported by a standing committee. All would be facilitated by the members, those who participate in this one. So member states would be part of the paperless council, which will be the highest level body, and a standing committee which will be a lower level functionary. And then after would be a technical working group which will address issues of interoperability, adoption of data standards, which we have heard that unless otherwise this is done, it doesn't move, and also harmonization of the legal framework across the Asia Pacific. And that is, okay, thank you very much. So this is basically the way that we need to move forward with this framework. There would be a facilitation, how we do it, that all necessary inputs have been already worked out in terms of doing technical readiness assessment of a country, and legal readiness assessment. I have said that it's necessary for us not only to address technical compatibility but also legal compatibility. So this also gets addressed as part of this, and also prepare an action plan that is also part of this arrangement. There are methods to participate in the pilot project and sharing of lessons learned as part of this initiative. Across the Asia Pacific, whatever is happening and across the globe happening would be shared with the participating member states. There is a component of capacity building not only for one sector but all the sectors as part of this initiative if you join in this initiative. And then trade related data and document interactions, legal instruments to be harmonized, and single window operationalization and the methods and the necessity for doing it, that also is inbuilt into the system. I think doing this addresses all concerns which have been raised just now, and perhaps that would be a good initiative. I would not go further on this one. Why? Because I have already given a paper to the Secretariat here, and is part of the folder which is made available to you, which talks broadly in detail about this initiative. But of course, before I conclude, I would like to really be looking forward on three initiatives. One, now since the chairman is here, and perhaps this would be of interest for CBIC also to be part of this initiative. Last month there was a meeting at UNSCAP, and DG Systems officials participated, and they are quite familiar with this initiative, and it would be of great interest that if this is taken forward. Ministry of Commerce, of course, logistics, where it addresses all your concerns of data accessibility, uniformity within the country, and its harmonization with cross-border, and not only the data but also the processes harmonization. This addresses as part of this. And of course, I would definitely be looking forward to Ms. Vandana Agarwal for a port community system which addresses this. And then at the end of it, that you have mentioned about a overall arrangement of interconnecting all these initiatives within the country. That perhaps is what we look forward for from a national single window. India is a big country. It is a very big exercise that if somebody try to interconnect all such initiatives. But ultimately, that if you want to interact with other trading partners across the globe, you cannot interact with 101 entities within the country. So there should be one point of contact for all outside agencies, which should conform to international standards. So I think there is an initiative at the Commerce and at CBIC for harmonizing this and interfacing this. That would be a good achievement. Thank you very much for your.
Thank you, sir, for sharing such wonderful views. Thank you, sir, for sharing such wonderful views. I would now like to invite Dr. John Joseph, Officiated Chairman and Member IT, CBIC.
President, ACFI, Mr. Tushar Jani, Ms. Vandana Agarwal, Mr. Keshav Chandra, Anand Swarup, Yaspal Sharma, Mr. Vineet, and Mr. Khan. Dear friends, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, let me thank the organizers of this function for having invited me to address this August gathering. As I could see, the freight forwarding has come of age in this country, and I think as far as air freight is concerned, you are going to get into more greener vistas. With the Udan scheme taking off, I think on the same belly of the aircraft, your freight also can go, because I don't think the passengers will be putting that much of baggage in the belly. So that also will be another opportunity for you to see that, okay, more the smaller towns can be connected and the goods can be reaching their destinations at the earliest. As far as the technological innovations are being concerned, the digitalization, that is the way forward. And I can tell you, in our office also, I mean, it's the same thing, I mean, if I can tell you a small thing. I am looking after the entire zone of North. In the zone of Chandigarh, I think it has been entirely paperless office now, if you ask me. Only your paper, whatever paper is incoming, will be the only paper that is available in any desktop. Everything is paperless, and the communication back to you, because people are not willing to accept the digital communication that we are willing to send. So that is the type of thing that we have already made it in the one zone. And by April, we are going to roll out across the country. And not only that one, in the GST intelligence which I was heading, just prior to this one, I mean, before I became the member and for some time after the member also, we have almost digitalized 20 lakh pages in the headquarters and my zonal units, which is from 1998 onwards, all the files are in digital form. We are going back, because I need to get the current file digitalized first, then I need to go back to the past one, so that it becomes much more easier. All files are in the compactors. Only in the desktop we know where the library, where the files are available, and with proper safeguards. That is one thing. The most important thing when you go for a digital economy or a digital process is data privacy and security. That is one thing you must learn. I mean, it is most important. Otherwise, once data can be stolen, you are nowhere. And especially in a system where economies are involved, I mean, say economic transactions are involved, financial transactions are involved, we need to be extremely careful. So we need to develop a robust system. And as Mr. Khan says, even at the international level and the national level, there must be extreme coordination, and the security standards have to be very high. It still happens. If you look at the way the SWIFT is functioning in the banking transactions, I think no great mishap has happened in the entire system. It has to be a system that robust and that secure, which needs to be inbuilt in our country as well as in the international level also. And as far as the customs is concerned, since I am looking after the IT platforms also, I mean, say, as member IT also, we have been also planning to come with a second version as a single window 2 is going to come now, which will encompass everybody in the entire chain of import and export. Currently also you would have seen, we have almost integrated the e-way bill with the FASTag. That is going to come with the DMADC link also is going to be coming now, so that any movement of boxes across the country we can track. And it is good for the persons who is forwarding also. Freight forwarders also will be quite useful for them also, because you know at what point your material is there. Even the person who is sending the goods also knows that, okay, each point, each toll plaza when it is crossing, you will come to know that, okay, it has crossed this toll plaza. So that gives you a clear handle to monitor where the movement of your goods are. In the SWIFT platform, in the single window platform, we have almost integrated, except 5, all the other partner government agencies are on board now. Because unlike the current version where it is very difficult, because even if you file a paper in the single window, single portal, you need to create a lot of copies to be given to other people on physical format, which creates a problem. Now we are eliminating that one. It will be electronically transferred to the other partner government agencies, so that the work will start immediately. Secondly, we are coming with machine clearing. I mean, say, currently when you pay the duty or pay the tax or whatever it is, after the clearance, you need to go back again to the officer to get the things cleared. Now it will be automatic. Moment the signal is coming from the system that, okay, it has been paid, the signal goes to everybody, that thing is automatically cleared. The terminals get the message, the shipping line get the message, everybody gets the message on the down the line, so that it becomes easier. There is also another problem that people are facing, that how to make the payment. Like in the customs and ACES, I mean in the excise and service tax system, there are two differences in that one. In one, you can pay by electronic transfers, but in the other one, it will be like NEFT and RTGS only is allowed. Card payment is not allowed. Now we are going to make a total payment portal which accepts every and all type of payments. Where you pay by card, where you pay by RTGS, where we pay internet banking, where you pay by NEFT, whatever it is, we are willing to accept that. We have already tied up with the RBI, and RBI has also given us the permission, I mean, say, because we need to have an integration with the banks and our audit system, so that it has to go to the right heads. Otherwise, the problem will be tomorrow you would have paid, we will find it very difficult to see that, okay, where it has been matched correctly with the actual data that is paid, that has to be paid by the importer or the exporter, as the case may be. So this has been totally integrated, and we are willing to, even if other people wanted to onboard that one, we are willing to allow that also. Let's say a shipping line wants to onboard in our system, we are willing to onboard that also. We do not have any issues on that, because it is totally kept open-ended, so that anybody wants to onboard into our system, just use it as a payment portal. Then, when the payment is done on the payment portal, the signal goes to all the persons and the stakeholders in the entire environment ecosystem, saying that, okay, look, payment has been made, you can clear the goods. The terminals gets the message, everybody gets the message, and the goods can be picked up and goods can move out of the whichever terminal, whether it is air terminal or whether it is a sea terminal. So it becomes much faster, if you ask me. Even the night also, it becomes easier, because nowadays what happens by the evening, every system gets shut down, you are not able to make the payments, and then it costs 1 day, almost 12 hours, which is what is hurting us also in getting more rates as far as the standards of the EUDB in trading across borders. Idea is to compress that time to the maximum extent possible, so that it will be like just in time for the persons who wants the goods to be for manufacturing or for trading. And in this aspect, I would like to also advise you, gentlemen, also to make your clients as AEO2. Because the moment you become any client as an AEO2, the advantage is at the tier 2, the advantage is that, okay, you just don't have to pay any cash when you take the goods for clearance. You need to pay only after 15 days. The first of the month, second of the month, and the 17th of the month you need to pay. This is a huge advantage for you if you look at that way. Because if you are going to be in a manufacturing sector, on the same day, within less than 24 hours, you clear the goods from the port, take it to your place, start manufacturing, sell the goods in, because if you are efficient, you should be able to manufacture something and sell it within another less than 2 weeks' time. You sell the goods, get the money and pay the tax. Your overdraft limit gets down. Your cash flow improves. You will be, I think everybody's main concern in this country is that, okay, our interest rates are very high. We are having a financial sectors is very, they don't give the banks are not giving limits. These are the great concerns that the people are raising. But let me tell you, opt for this. You don't have to ask for anybody, any bank. Same thing will happen if you are doing in the GST thing also. If the factory, the person is going to buy stuff from the outside, the tax needs to be paid only by the next 20th. If I buy anything in this month, I am paying the tax on by the next 20th of the next month. You get that much of window. Use this one so that your transactions can be done on sort of no financial implications for you, no financial burden on you. So that is also one thing I would like all of you to advocate and tell your customers, because they are the people who are going to do manufacturing, trading, or whatever activity they are into. And unless our activities, I mean, say economic activity, and you are the barometers, I think I could say that, okay, freight forwarding is a barometer of finding out how the economic activity in a country goes on. If freight forwarding is going up or doing well, that shows that economy is doing well. Because without that, it is basically it is a vein through arteries and veins of entire economic system as such, if you ask me. So I would like this initiative. This is one of the best initiatives I think the ACFI is promoting, and I wish all of you to be part of this one. And in this ecosystem which we are going to build as on the custom side as a single window too, if any more inputs can be, because we will also be going for a much more broader stakeholder consultation before we launch it on a full scale. Maybe we're planning to do it by 1st of April. So we will also come back to you to give your suggestions also, because we will not know where the shoe pinches. It will be you who will be knowing where the shoe pinches. Okay, tweaking here and tweaking there will improve the system, and idea is to see that, okay, we all work together and to see that we should be part of the nation building activity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for sharing your thoughts. May I now invite Mr. Tushar Jani to present the memento to Dr. John Joseph.
Good morning, friends and colleagues. I will not go into the usual thanking to ACFI, it goes without saying, and my welcome and greetings to the members on the dais and to everybody in the community. I'm very happy actually that it is human beings which are the most efficiently wired bodies that are debating on this subject of going from digital to digitization, digitalization. If we can understand our own systems, which not only operate the entire nervous system, which operates so efficiently, it has predictive, it has curative value, it has every manner of dynamic content built into it. It has diversity, so it can equally trigger a heart to function. It can trigger a liver to function, the kidneys, and so on. Actually, that kind of wiring and interoperability, mutual recognition, all the words that we have heard of today come to play in the digitalized system that we need to create in the whole of the air cargo value chain at the first instance, and secondly, with all other modes of transportation. And to that extent, therefore, I really welcome having my dear colleague, senior colleague, Dr. John Joseph. I know he has to run. He promised me he'll hear my first part and then he would leave, and not immediately after his closing. So actually, when we had conceptualized the National Air Cargo Community System, at the back of the mind, although it started as a initiative for simply interchange of data between the stakeholders, we conceptualized that we cannot take it up in little bits and pieces. It may not find the traction to what BCG said, add transformative value to what we are doing. And unless we go holistic, which means we connect the payments gateways to the NACs, we connect the data systems of trade to NACs, we connect the GST and fiscal aspects to NAC, we connect all other requirements, including the other, so we have the truckers who need to bring the cargo to the community, to the airport. We need to connect the airports. We need to connect with the airlines. We need to connect with all the agents who are handling the process. It is basically a system which is meant to address not just the connectivity, digital connectivity of the physical supply of shipments and supply of cargo, but also the financial and the fiscal chain. So it has three parallel streams to my mind, and that's how the National Air Cargo System actually differs from the PCS that has been conceptualized and put in place. There is no value judgment in this statement. It is simply that you could start at different points of time on developing a digital system, and you could have different methods of integrating all the aspects that are required, but you cannot deny the need for developing an entire air cargo community system. You cannot also, at this point of time in global trade, when we are seeing cataclysmic shifts happening, not just on account of coronavirus, etc., where shipments from countries which are adversely impacted by the new coronavirus will suddenly be seen as health hazards. So there is, in a sense, the need for what we are doing in terms of connectivity with such trade systems to be aware of the challenges, the risks involved, but more importantly, to be fleet-footed about how we draw advantage from this and move on to develop our markets and also our sources of supply. So it's a fluid world out there, and I think we need to, as somebody earlier said, there are challenges, but hidden in the challenges actually are the opportunities. So that's at a very broad plane that I have started my intervention. What I'm happy to report is that India made a start in developing cargo community systems at the airport level. And it's also extremely heartening to find that Atlanta Airport has gone digital recently, but due to the efforts or contract that was won by an Indian IT firm, which is Kale Logistics. And they have also won the second contract, seeing the success of the Atlanta airport. Boston Airport has also now contracted. And the initiative that India, as the government level, has taken is to swiftly move in to develop the digital freight corridors between Atlanta, Boston, and our airports. So we have already put that into the intergovernmental process, simply because the IT systems that have been developed at our airports would, technologically speaking, as well as, to my mind, in terms of the comfort of the stakeholders as to what are the requirements of that system and what are the requirements of our own systems, have greater ease. What we at the government level would hope to address is the mutual recognition that Dr. Khan spoke of, not just of the products, the way they are moving, the processes, the documentation, the fact of security aspects of bringing these two systems together. So I think that this represents a fabulous opportunity for the entire air cargo community system in India. We have also moved fairly fast, or we are a little bit advanced also on the connectivity to Europe. So again, through a digital freight corridor with Schiphol, but there is a legal glitch over there which is at the moment not yet sorted out between Bombay and Mumbai and Schiphol, and I hope that we will be able to solve those out, and you would have another system which helps to add value to your transactions by using the digitalization of the digital platform that is there before you. Another initiative which actually has the key to market making is the digital booking portals. Again, India made the start in the world. Everybody has digital portals, booking portals, which are limited to one airport or their own vicinity, and they are not end-to-end. We do have two portals before us, and I would urge, these are private sector initiatives taken up at the push of the government, and I would urge all of you, do not fear that animal. There is so much opportunity of market making, market development, which is implicit in the digital booking portals that are out there. And I hope that my voice will reach out to you somehow, and you will find value in going digital even on your bookings. and through the bookings to actual completion of transaction at the other end. We did realize when the NACS was being conceptualized in this broader framework that the data which has been spoken of earlier by BCG, by Keshav, and by Dr. Khan is central to it. And in the Ministry of Commerce, we have initiated development of data analytics, which is rather, I would say, futuristic in its conceptualization and design. We hope to be able to integrate the data systems of IATA, the ICAO submissions that the airlines and all other stakeholders make. The freight forwarding community is most welcome to participate and tell us as to how you feel you can be a part of the data systems, the navigation system, etc. So the entire data analytics, which must be the data collection and the analytics, which must be the foundation, the deep foundation of any digital system, is also being set up in parallel in consultation with the IIMs and other people who are conceptualizing the whole thing on behalf of, in partnership with Ministry of Civil Aviation. I want to take up an issue that arises. It has, I won't say an indirect, but a very covert reach for the topic that we are taking up, which is that as a cargo community, I would like us to complement ourselves in being able to reach the finance minister and to have a paragraph in her speech, budget speech, on Krishi Udan. As you know, the cargo is always the stepchild of passengers. So while we know Udan, Ude Desh Ka Aam Nagrik, to be a passenger-centric scheme, there were minor provisions to facilitate cargo in that Udan. But we have found that there was no traction because the Udan uses small planes and is based on use of planes which do not provide sufficient belly cargo capacity for picking up the cargo. But even so, there is an opportunity implicit in that which can be utilized. But there was nothing in it for freighters, for instance. We now need to look at not Krishi Udan as in the farmer is flying. So it is not the farmer which is flying, but it is the generic term Udan, Krishi Udan. And to my mind, it has, your conference today is very timely in the sense it provides us within 5 days of the statement or intent of the government having been revealed, for us to begin our process of thinking as to how we can put it into play. So it's a fabulous opportunity arising from the budget, which means that every wing of government, whether it is the Ministry of Agriculture, which deals with farmers' welfare, whether it is animal husbandry and dairying, whether it is the fisheries and marine sector, I look at the term Udan, Krishi as encompassing all of these, our agro-perishables, all floriculture, horticulture, everything, all put together, and we need to work on it. There are various elements of the scheme that would need to be developed by all of us by applying our thinking cap. So we need to address the physical flows, which means our strategy has to be the potential heavy lift production sectors, areas first, so that the scheme can get traction. I think we should focus on those. We need to see what products have ready availability. Are these seasonal in nature? Are these non-seasonal or perennial products? We need to see which ones we take up in the first. It doesn't mean that the others will be excluded. It just means that in our initiative going forward, how we pick up those products. So I've already spoken about having heavy lift production centers where they are. How do we partner with the state governments, which are, in a sense, I would call healthy agricultural states. It doesn't mean that we don't capture the other states which don't have a heavy agricultural ethos, but which may be a little bit anemic on agricultural and are more focused on services or manufacturing. We need to see which are the areas such as the Northeast and the hill states and island state communities where heavy production is there, organic food is there, which has a heavy demand, plus the fisheries and marine products, which are high value krishi products, I would call them, where there is an already international demand for it, and they are best connected in a very time-sensitive manner with our markets overseas. So we need to see how we can do that. This is not an initiative, I think, which will work with a heavy top-down approach. I think we need to work with all the communities that are associated. So next time, I would like to see more farmers and fishermen and marine chappies also in the room, so that we actually go on the whole value chain concept, not just those who are facilitating the flow or supply of goods. So we have to make this program workable. And if you are reaching out to the farming communities at district level, at village level, I see no better medium to think and create the system than the digital platforms. We would need to, for instance, address, apart from, I've spoken about the physical flows, we would need to go for the regulatory aspects, which is your sorting, grading, and certification. So I would welcome help from Dr. Khan as to how we can address the sorting, grading, and certification of products and BCG and others at the farm gate itself, and how it can be therefore labeled and brought forward and packed in an appropriate manner that it can be, so applying all the standards that are required. So that is the regulatory part that I feel we must address. Any scheme for it to work must have financial viability. So that's the third aspect. Where are the big markets? Is it the domestic? Obviously, when we originally looked at NACs, we were looking only at the international transactions. And in the series of stakeholder consultations, I'm happy to say that we found the freight forwarding community and everybody else say, why do you want to leave out the domestic shipments or cargo? Please include it in NACs. So that is how it's now moving forward. So I would, in a similar way, say that where the financials are concerned, let's see how we can bundle the agricultural products covering floriculture, horticulture, fisheries, animal husbandry, your meat and meat products, anything which is agri and time sensitive. You have 24 chapters of the International Trade Classification, which also, and coding system. By the way, I must say that in 1996, I was the one who entered all the WTO compliant restrictions at an 8-digit tariff line wise into a computer system from about 3,300 files in the archives of Ministry of Commerce. And that came to be known as India's Import Policy Bible. So I would be really happy if we can have all these digital initiatives that have, and the data systems. Commerce Ministry has made serious advances in providing at a digital platform all the other documentary requirements or all other regulatory requirements at a 8-digit tariff line-wise basis. And so therefore, the more digital we get, the more we will be able to, integrated we become, the more we will be able to find value in, more value and less logistics cost in what we do. So the financial bundling has to happen across product lines or within product lines. I leave that judgment to you, depending upon where the marketing initiatives take us. And we would work with Ministry of External Affairs and Commerce Ministry to see where are the markets that they have identified. And for our heavy lift agricultural products. So I think on 11th, I've spoken with some of the people already. On 11th, we will do our first brainstorming so that we move swiftly with this fabulous initiative that government would like us to take. And the next stream is the fiscal leg. So do we want subsidies or do we want fiscal breaks? Do we want, obviously, the more we ask, muh mein makhi padegi. So, I think we need to be very judicious to see where we need governmental intervention. I would like us to be as far away from too much of interventions by the government, because the more we take from the fiscal sphere or from a subsidy or budgetary sphere, the more will be the scrutiny. While scrutinies are not bad, but the interference could be there in terms of, please don't quote me on this, could be there. So, but I think a self-sustaining things which propels itself is a far better scheme for us to work on. And let's try and put our collective minds. I don't ask for your inputs today, but let's do our thinking, our strategizing, and let's see how we can make this Krishi Udan the world's foremost digital initiative. I thank you for your patient hearing.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a great session so far. You've heard various ministries, Ministry of Commerce, Ministry of Civil Aviation, the Customs, all have geared up. They've just not actually geared up, they're in the digitalization sphere to make sure the entire air cargo chain across the world is, including the United Nations, which is understanding the importance of doing a paperless environment, which can facilitate trade, which can boost trade across the world. Just a small word that I would like to leave everybody on the dais with, since they're spoken of community systems, port systems, and airport systems. The best systems of the world today and tomorrow will be the one which will be able to talk to other systems. So API integration of all community systems with anyone as part of the stakeholders will be extremely important. Any system which will work in silo will only have more challenges to work with, since a lot of stakeholders, organizations across the world have well-established systems which are actually ready to talk to any system across the world. So it's a humble request that if this as an element is put in the forefront as the community systems get built. Cyrus, over to you for the word of thanks.
Good morning. such an august gathering on the floor as well as off the floor. I must really compliment ACFI for doing such a great job. I'm honored and privileged to get an opportunity to propose a vote of thanks on this important occasion of ACFI conference on air cargo digitization to digitalization. Little tongue twister, but yes, we've got it right. Vinit, thank you very much for your super start. Vinit of Boston Consultancy, thanks very much for your super start, for setting the tone for digitalization. Mr. Keshav Chandra, Joint Secretary Logistics, Ministry of Commerce, for giving the broad perspective on the Indian air cargo logistics. Air cargo industry is very fast moving and we are ready to go full-fledged digitalization. We are ready when you are ready. Mr. Anand Swarup, thank you so much. You've been on the back, you've always been in every meeting. We've been seeing you all around. Thank you so much for your support, for being here. Mr. T.A. Khan, what can I say about you? Vice Chairman, United Nations of Center for Trade and Facilitation, Electronic Business. The passion which you displayed was amazing. You had all that on stage, and really thank you very much for being with us and sharing this kind of knowledge. We look forward for further deliberations from your side. I also would like to take one statement of yours. You said air cargo industry, a great level of maturity, which shows that we are already ready for digitalization. Where there's transport sector, shipping, but I think air cargo can have the lead in going digitalization. We are there. Even there are statistics to prove that e-airway bills and all, and India is right on top out there. We are almost on the top 6 or top 10 countries of the world. You already know that. Dr. John Joseph, John Joseph, Chairman, Central Board of Industry and Taxes, for gracing the occasion and showing his vision on digitalization and data protection. I guess he has a lot of important pressing things because of the parliament sessions, and at least he was here to grace the occasion. Thank you very much, Doc. Vandana Agarwal, what do I say? I had got one whole page prepared on you, but again, your passion is amazing. Mrs. Vandana Agarwal, Economic Advisor, Joint Secretary, Ministry of Civil Aviation, for her valuable presence and guest of honor at this conference. Vandana Agarwal has always been very supportive towards the air cargo industry and its development. Thank you very much, Vandana, for being with us. I'm not going to stand a long way between tea break and now, so your coffee break is on. But before that, Tushar Jani is going to perform the ceremony of giving token of appreciations to our honored guests. Kindly go ahead, Tushar. Mrs. Vandana Agarwal. Mr. T.A. Khan. Mr. Keshav Chandra. And Mr. Anand Swarup. And finally, yours truly, Mrs. Vandana Agarwal. Vinit. Vinit, I don't forget you. We saved the last for the best, but I couldn't say that. Mrs. Vandana Agarwal.
I've got it already. Oh. No, you're so fast towards her, you don't need
I want to, can we give you 2?
He is so much impressed by it.
Don't go by my size.
Thank you, everybody on the dais. Thank you, everybody here.
I just want to say, we have old colleague and friend, Ms. Renu Parmar is here with us, was earlier senior. So, we've been always blessed, and or this mother comes in this position, right? So there was that mother from this mother. So she's here. Thank you, ma'am, to be here.